everyone, and welcome back to Rebooked, the show where we talk about the men and women slapping meat in the middle of the squared circle, the stories they tell in the mother flipping process. I'm Golden Boy, and I'm back, baby. And don't get me wrong,
back.
I heard what Matt said last week, making fun of the intro to this illustrious podcast upon which we...
I just couldn't do it.
Upon which we create... But of course, you got Matt and you have Jake. Fellas, I'm still in China. But we managed to make this happen. It is 12:19 a.m. And I just came back from an entire day at Disneyland in Shanghai. And let me tell you, it is the best Disneyland. It's so good. Actually, well, I don't know. Japan's really good too. Actually, I would say Japan is number one. Shanghai is number two. But I also haven't been to Paris.
Really?
But I was told Paris was okay. And also, I understand that, you know, Disney World exists, but I just can't measure Disney World against like Disneyland's. I don't know. It's because it's like such a
it's a kind of a
big ass
scale.
park. And the Tron roller coaster is one of the greatest rides ever conceived by a human mind. Dude, just because it's Tron, sorry, I just have a love affair with Tron. I just love Tron. I've watched the movie like 10 times.
Ooh, this is going to turn into
it's fair. We can argue about this later. There's a lot to talk about. There's a lot to talk about. But I am right about Tron. Anyway, so I'm kidding. Man, this was a freaking weekend and a half. It was so cool. Dude. Lots going on. But first things first, fellas, did you miss me? Did you miss me last week?
I mean, miss you? I mean, I thought things went smoother. Things went it was cleaner.
Yeah.
It was a little easier to get through things.
Tell me more. Tell me
more.
It's like we'd been doing this for years, Matt and I.
No, it was a great listen. It was a great listen.
Yeah, we're happy to have you back, though.
You guys went through a card and a half, though. I mean, like insane amounts of matches. That was definitely. And you know what? I think a lot of the predictions were pretty on point. I would say across the board.
If I recall,
from what I remember,
we only missed one. Well, I only missed one, which was I missed Death Triangle.
I thought Death Triangle was going to win as well. I thought that was going to be the case too. So yeah,
nailed all the other ones though.
But remember, just because it's a touch predictable doesn't mean it's bad. Because goodness gracious, were we treated to some special stuff. Let's just jump right into it. Screw it. We're going to start first with the king and queen of the ring. We had an excellent card, top to bottom. Yes, it was a Saudi Arabian show, and yes, there was always going to be, weirdness with programming in their run of show and, promotion and whatnot. We know what it exists for. But that being said, what we were treated to was a genuinely great show. And I think that for what had become a kind of throwaway concept of like, oh, they're just going to Saudi Arabia because they're getting paid a lot of money to go and do it. I'm glad to see that in Triple H's WWE, they have honestly taken the ball and ran with it, gave Saudi Arabia a really good pay-per-view, I think, in the King and Queen of the Ring, which established so much moving forward as far as like what the King and Queen of the Ring, actually matters, right? Actually has value. And if anything, it just makes me more infuriated that they didn't do this when Woods won the goddamn thing. Like it's just hello. And then Brock Lesnar could show up, beat Woods, and then, the triangle's complete. Like, I mean, come on.
Of course.
That's the Death Triangle.
That's the true Death Triangle.
That's the real Death Triangle.
What's funny is at G4, Woods did tell me that he was totally down for all of that.
Of course.
I'm sure. Yeah.
He just likes fun shit.
He's a dude. That's why.
So, what do you guys think? Or Matt, excuse me.
Yeah, it was good. It was I think we said it before in the lead up to this. I think the best executed and most important feeling King and Queen of the Ring, in quite some time. It felt like they put emphasis on it. It did. It made this Saudi event feel like, as we say, in canon, right? Normally they're kind of these weird offshoots. Brock is back for a month just to do that. Or, in the early days, Taker was there just to do that. Goldberg, whatever. The big legend stars they wanted to see. This one, it actually fed into what was going on in our regular universe, at least as far as the King of the Ring goes. So that was consistent, which was nice. The matches throughout the whole tournament were all very good from top to bottom. And then you had two, which culminated in two. I still wish, I'm hoping if and when they do this again, hopefully it continues year after year. We don't have a 3-year gap. I do miss the days when I'd like the semifinals and the finals at least on the same show.
Yep.
I love the stories you can tell with that. Somebody gets hurt or beat up backstage, whatever. Oh, they have to fight through the little through lines you can do with that. Always were awesome in the old King of the Ring pay-per-views. So hopefully they can bring that back.
But it was a 5-match card.
5 matches. 5-match card. It was perfect.
Yeah.
2 hours and 45 minutes, I think, or something like that. 2 hours.
And let every match have its time. That's exactly what we thought it might be. And they all delivered. They were all really good, really enjoyable matches. Yep. And I think that's what we're starting to see more with this Triple H regime is we're going back kind of to the old NXT pay-per-view formulas of, let the wrestling talk during the pay-per-views, and then, we'll do all the build-ups on the other shows, which I like. I like when we do that, because it just felt like there was a while where it was like, this match is going to be on at the pay-per-view. Here's 86 different versions of it before we ever get to the pay-per-view.
And all of them end with a surprise roll-up.
9 different 6-man tags and Yeah, or by DQ. So that's really nice. So I like that they're doing that. Like it gave, really everybody was able to showcase what they can do. And that's fantastic. I really like that. The wrestlers are getting their time to do their craft and show what they can do. I'm a big fan of it. I'm glad that I'm glad that this seems to kind of be the direction that we're headed.
Agree more. All right, well, let's go ahead and run through the card. There's going to be a lot of things we talk about, but I think for the sake of this, it doesn't really make much sense to review matches, so to speak. And hear me out. Yeah. I would like to talk about where we go from here, rather than we'll just cut to the chase on some of these matches, because we know that they were good. Just go watch the show. They were all fantastic. But we'll start first with the main event, because I think that was, in my opinion, the least important match of the entire show.
I don't think you're wrong.
And it's not even meant to be an insult to Cody or Logan.
No.
It just speaks to the high quality of the matches across the board that we were treated to. I still think that they should have ended with one of the King or Queen of the Ring matches being the final. I think that would have been cool. But I understand. And also, too, now that it's King and Queen of the Ring, you don't want to, have the men do the final match. What about the women? I think, or have the women do the final match. What about the men? This way, everyone's just, in their place in the card. And it all works out. Cody versus Logan. More importantly, what is next for Cody in this situation? Because with Gunther winning King of the Ring, he is a Raw superstar. He will be challenging for the World Heavyweight title. Am I correct in that? Right? I haven't seen Monday Night Raw.
Yes.
So, because I am in China, and it is kind of hard to see it. Was there any movement there?
There was a little bit. Gunther, when it came out with, I think it was the opening promo. With Drew was out there. Who else was out there?
Yeah.
Was it Priest?
Yeah. I think I saw a picture of Priest.
Priest came out, yeah.
So I think for now it's just kind of remember that I'm here kind of vibe. Later on, Ludwig got into it with Sheamus. They're going to do a little thing. But for right now, Gunther kind of seems to be kind of like holding that crown over like whichever, whoever is going to be champion. I've got my spot.
It doesn't matter.
Ready.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like I'm ready to take down whoever was kind of the vibe.
You know what I just realized? So then the World Heavyweight title is going to main event Clash at the Castle. Because that's the next pay-per-view.
I mean, I would imagine with Drew.
I would
Drew,
surely.
Then that means that Cody might not be on the card.
He's on the advertisements. I don't know. They haven't really built to that.
They could do a segment. I don't think they need to do a match.
I mean,
because that's like 2 weeks, right? It's in like, isn't it like June 5th or something? Or
it's
June?
Soon. It is very soon.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I wouldn't be. I could imagine.
I'm not mad about that.
They're going to want Cody there.
I'm not mad about that, actually. I like that because Priest wasn't on the card, and it's very clear they're trying to, ensure that in our eyes as viewers that the World Heavyweight Champion and the WWE Champion are of equal footing, even though it does not feel like that at the moment. But you get there by having Clash at the Castle be about the World Heavyweight Championship rather than it be about the WWE Championship. That actually is, and also makes way more sense with Drew in the picture. So that's where that's going. But what happens next for Cody then? Because he's left without a challenger.
But that's kind of Cody. Like we've said, he's in this interesting spot where, again, I'm beating a dead horse. Coming off this huge, gigantic Mania story, everything, we know you got to keep that guy on top for a while. So it's just gonna be. I think we continue the line of. I hope we're not getting more challengers just named. I really hate that.
Yeah,
really hate it.
Especially in this instance, I didn't like the Logan Paul situation, even though it made way more sense this time than it did when Logan Paul challenged Roman Reigns, conveniently enough, at the other Saudi Arabian pay-per-view that they did. Interesting how that works. It's almost as if that's
That's the reason he's on the show.
which also kind of sucks because it does. I don't want to say it takes away from Logan Paul because he's fantastic.
It works for a heel like Logan, though. It works for a heel like Logan. So, I mean, I don't like having people named like that either. But if you're going to do it, doing it with Logan Paul makes sense.
But then the issue with that is, though, then by connection, by default, you're kind of making your authority figure kind of a heel, which I don't think either one of them really are. They're kind of neutral.
It seemed like to him, to Aldis, that it was a good match.
To Nick Aldis, yeah.
That's what he.
Who cares? I hate that. I hate that. And there's so many good matches. Again, we're still trying to create this world. This is our world that we live in our storybook, which is the Wrestling Federation of the WWE. And in that, there has to be rules, man.
Yeah.
Like, that's the idea of, I know wrestling's this weird kind of fantasy. We can make it whatever we want. I get that. But at the same time, you have to live within.
There needs to be some continuity of
if we're making a cop drama, then we have to live in, a world that's based on, real police rules to build the story and intrigue. If we're in Lord of the Rings, all right, we can have fireballs and dragons. But then we have to explain that and live within those rules and stuff like that. We can't just change it whenever
wasn't that a Will Smith movie?
That really bugs me.
That was a Will Smith movie, I'm pretty sure, where he was a cop and everyone had fire and magic and shit.
Oh, yes. Yes. It was.
What, can you remember the name of it? Yeah.
Honestly, I can't remember the last time I watched it.
Remember that Max Landis wrote it.
God. Holy shit. That's a... Wow, okay. Bright was the name of the movie. That was it.
That's it.
And the guy and his partner was an orc.
That is it.
Yes. That was the movie. So you know what, Matt?
And that was oh shit. What was his
name? What, Matt?
That's gonna be your
Joel Edgerton. He was the
Well, you know what? Looks like you're wrong. Okay. And
Egg on my face.
that's all.
Bright has,
and we all know that movie was super successful.
No,
so you know. I can't believe.
But yeah, all I want. You brought up. Right?
That was a wild tangent you just put us on there.
Alta just put egg on Matt's face. Oh man, yeah.
Yeah.
All this to say, whatever it is, I don't care. Give me a battle royal. It
True.
can be one night. It doesn't have to be like weeks of qualifying matches. Just put a 20-man battle royal. Somebody wins it. Somebody has to qualify for a match.
Who is it?
But who is
LA
the
Knight.
question?
Randy Orton.
LA Knights, I think, is a good one considering we've got like a couple of.
I don't.
No, really.
I don't, because I feel like LA. This is kind of what I thought was going to happen at the end of the Logan Paul Cody match, because they showed before several matches, they showed that there were wrestlers sitting ringside. I mean, they did it with Street Profits and in that last match, LA Knight was sitting out there, and they had that moment a week or so ago where Logan walked out of Aldis's office LA Knight walked out as Logan was trying to go in, and he glanced down at his title. I don't think he really said anything. What I thought was going to happen at the end of that main event was that Logan was going to try to use the brass knucks, and LA Knight was going to slide in, say, thus
that
kicking
feud.
off
U.S. title feud.
That's what I thought was going to happen.
No, that's a very good catch and a very good point. And it would be a great spot for LA Knight. And if you're going to give him an attaboy finally,
right?
Outside of remember because he won at Mania, right?
Yes.
Yes, he beat AJ at Mania. Yeah.
So, which
but
is
then
big,
lost the second match.
Yeah. I don't know. Beating Logan Paul for the U.S. title could be a big for him.
They also have made a huge thing recently about AJ. Like, I don't know what to do. I don't know what's next for me, and I can see him still being involved in the title picture somehow because that match was great.
I would have loved to see more from them.
So I think that we could.
I'm happy to get back to it.
I would say though, what could be fun and a bit different if AJ went to NXT for a little while and fought over there for a bit, because he never went to NXT, and that could kind of get that spark back, in the storyline. Like Becky did it, right? Ziggler did it, like.
But does he go as a heel? Because that's what he is right now. He's a heel. So does he go as a heel and then come back as a heel, or is it like my spirit's renewed babyface? Because then it just feels weird to have done this whole heel turn.
That's true. The heel turn.
Funsies?
The heel turn thing is a bit bizarre, but the Good Brothers are in NXT, so I just don't want to like constantly lean on that, because like AJ Styles is more than just his old history as part of the Bullet Club, which was at this point feels like a decade ago. So it would be nice to kind of see where they go from there.
It was longer than a decade ago.
Don't remind me. Okay, I'm not ready for this existential crisis.
I mean, pretty sure it's longer than a decade.
And we're talking about wrestling. All right, so speaking of, we have our Intercontinental Championship match. I mean, that was nutty. Sami Zayn over like Rover. Makes sense. With given.
And again, look. You gave Matt shit for mocking your intro. I'd like a little credit for repping your
you
boy.
Did. You backed up Big Bronson, baby.
While you weren't here.
Backed him up. You backed him up, man. And he didn't win.
About as I expected.
He didn't win again. He didn't win again, but it's okay.
No, but he looks good. He looks good in every match that he's in.
He's awesome.
That's what I don't understand. What I don't understand is like why he keeps being injected in this feud when he feels like a side note. And I don't think that's fair to him. That's what I don't, and it muddles the story of Sammy and Chad and
but
Alpha
has
Academy.
Bronson had a one-on-one match with Sammy yet? I think maybe he has. Yeah.
Yeah, he had one
right? On Raw.
Yeah,
Right?
He
had one on Raw.
Yeah, you're right. It does muddy the water. It is weird. It's like, why do they keep doing this? But they just need like an escape, I guess.
I don't know. To me, it feels like
a way to extend. I think they wanted to maybe hold off because they did like the Chad heel turn, and they wanted to get through maybe King and Queen of the Ring before they really dove in to the Sammy heel Gable like story. And maybe they just needed something to get those extra couple weeks, get a match at King and Queen of the Ring, develop this a teeny bit, and like so it was just like instead of just going to a one-on-one match, they do this triple threat first while they build a little bit, and now they can, as we saw a little bit of on Monday, they can really dive into this, which I hope that's where we're going. I hope we don't devolve into a Chad Otis story yet. I really want Chad to stay in this Intercontinental
What happened
title
on Raw with Chad
arena.
and Otis? I didn't get to see it.
So
he went to belt whip him.
Yeah, he's gonna whoop his ass.
Otis was gonna whoop Chad,
Literally.
or Chad was gonna whoop Otis.
No. Was gonna whoop Otis.
Chad removed his belt like a dad from the 1950s and said, "Grab a rope, son," and he was about to lash his ass.
Okay.
I mean, it was intense.
God, and they were like the time my mama used to beat me for being a little shit. So, you know,
she might as well. Yeah, he might as well.
Over my knee, Otis. You lay over my knee.
He might as well have told Otis to go pick a switch because that's what it felt like it was leaning toward.
It was.
Who was the only one to stop him? Maxine Dupree. Maxine Dupree stopped Chad as he was about to hit him, and then he kicked her out, said, "Don't ever come back again." And then as he was about to do it a second time, Sammy's music hits. So there's definitely a build up to it, and it's gonna. I think it's going to be a good pop. I could see. It wouldn't surprise me if this led like all the way to SummerSlam. And I could see this going the route of between now and then, Chad wins the IC title, and then at SummerSlam you have Chad versus Otis for the IC title. I don't know. But Otis is getting a good pop again. He's starting to get that same kind of momentum. The pandemic killed him. The pandemic killed Otis because he was so over with crowds, and then they didn't know what to do, and he lost that Money in the Bank, and all his momentum went away. Now I think we're starting to build it back again, and I could very much see it going that direction of Sammy to Chad to Otis. And even being, I'd kind of mentioned this on the last episode of it being a situation of Chad wins it, tells Sammy he can never have a rematch, and now Sammy goes and trains Otis to beat Chad. So I think that could be a lot of fun, kind of this full circle, moment,
or
of now Sammy building up Otis the way Chad built him up and saying, no, you got to, get your self-esteem back and remember who you are. And I think that could be a fun route that it is.
What if it's bait? What if Sammy's being led to believe that Otis is turning on Chad, and Sammy tries to go in and help him out, and then when Chad and Sammy finally have their next match for the title, Otis helps Chad win the title. Just saying. Now, would that be a bad call? Would that be a good call?
That would be pretty.
Sounds like it'll be a bad call.
No. I love it because it subverts its
expectation.
Yeah, but I think it could be good enough to not feel like swerve for the sake of being a swerve's sake, like just to f with people. Because I mean, in their dynamic as characters, it would work too. I mean, Chad is the coach, right? This was a strategy. All right, here's our game plan, kid. We're gonna do this thing. It feels weird in context of like the Intercontinental title match, because like, why would you execute that plan there? Like, you would think if you're in the title match, everything would just be like, I'll just do anything I can to win. Otis beat him up. So that
But
would
he's
call
got to
into
get his
question, so
trust.
that makes me think they would probably
Right? Like maybe Otis needs to get his trust.
could be
Sammy
you
lets
could
his
do
guard
that.
down.
Yeah, like he's really
It's asking an undercover cop to do a
Yeah.
line of coke.
Yeah.
Like is that
And then
what-
you come back over to me, and then I'll beat you with the belt. Well,
Yeah,
don't worry,
yeah,
it's
exactly.
all for show.
you get jumped blood in, blood out. You know, blood in, blood out.
Maybe Chad
For
wanted to
for
wait
the
till
Alpha
it
Academy.
whittled down to a one-on-one scenario. It was like, this triple threat's too chaotic. Bronson Reed's in here. Like, I'm not even going to hedge my bets on that match. I'll try to win, but we're going to really focus on setting this trap for
It
Sammy.
could, but
could
now that
work,
you say it
could.
like that, I'm like, I don't know. I don't think it'll go that direction, but it would be cool. It would be quite a bait, you know, and bait and swerve, which I think would be really fun. But yeah, we'll see what happens there. Anything else? But
it was a really great match. It was
Very
a great match. There were some great moments. Sammy hitting a fucking blue thunder
Bronson freaking Reed, dude,
Bronson
which
Reed
again
was
is the reason why
incredible.
Bronson Reed's so damn good. He just gives you so much. He went for a freaking tope suicida, I think, on the outside that looked like a bus.
Yep. And a moonsault.
You know, just coming in.
Yes.
You know?
Yeah.
Oh, goodness gracious.
Oh, and how did we not mention that in 2024 that Cody Rhodes did a vertebreaker in WWE?
Oh, yeah.
That's just because Logan Paul is just such a flexible dude. Honestly,
Wrestling's
man,
back.
he's such a flexible dude. Yeah,
You have to be.
he is.
Yeah.
That guy
For that.
moves. I mean, when he does his version of a frog splash, which is always funny to me because he goes full spread leg out, like just he's trying to touch the walls, the invisible walls of the thing,
And that-
like Johnny Cage
Yeah.
status. You know what I mean? He's just like really splitting them legs. He's got some movement to him that you know, I look at it and I'm like, I'm never gonna be able to do that a day in my life. So good on you, buddy. Like, yeah, that was nutty. That was really cool. Who was the last wrestler to do a vertebreaker? Or when was that? Because I read somewhere that it was Hurricane Helms's move.
Yeah.
He
That's
definitely
crazy.
did it.
It was his move, but he's also, you know, like a really good wrestler. So,
But I think he might have worked the match.
Oh,
he might have been the
I have no
producer of
doubt.
that match, which could be why it
no doubt.
happened.
Yeah, really
So,
cool
who
stuff.
knows?
And then the thing that really you know wasn't all that shocking, I kind of sort of. Liv Morgan is now the new world heavyweight women's world champion. Excuse me, gotta get that right. The new women's world champion, defeating Becky Lynch. There were. I'm just gonna push past this one part here. Fans apparently are like, "Oh, Becky could be done." Bitch, it's a story. Like, just let the story go.
Even if it's not a story, she's
home
not
for a little bit.
going. Yeah,
She's got a
she's
kid,
not
like-
going
And
anywhere.
also,
Take a few months off.
her
come
husband
back.
has time off. What do you don't think they want to go on a little
Yeah.
we need
vacation?
to
Go get
normalize
some sun?
wrestlers going away from
fruity
TV for a
drinks.
little while to make space for news stories,
Yeah.
and then other people can, you know, like, come
Yeah.
on.
and
And
just
it
to
not
give
be
them
them going to
Yeah, or
AEW
E
them going to
or-
WWE.
And-
Like, honestly, like what in the instance of
Right.
MJF.
and
Yes.
they've if anyone's earned a break,
No shit.
Becky Lynch
yes.
has earned a
Come
freaking
on.
break. As a matter of fact, she was supposed to take a break and came back to go on this short title run. So like,
The woman has put the company on her back so many
drink
times.
Go drink a fruity drink with an umbrella in it and just chill.
It's
for a
true.
bit.
Yeah,
and
You've
also,
earned it.
fruity drinks with umbrellas are heckin' delicious. So you'll be cooling off with a yummy
where you
drink.
get 'em. TGI Fridays.
And
I'm
you won't be a little shit. So there you go. That's your pro tip for the day, courtesy of Rebooked. But yeah, so Liv Morgan wins, and I just gotta say, the storytelling in this match was just utterly immaculate, just so good. The Dom bit coming in, you know, like trying to cost the match for Liv, inadvertently giving her the win. The fact that we've been getting this sprinkle Inadvertently, we've been getting this sprinkle of
with quotes.
Dom. Oh my God! I just want to know why. That's all I want.
Well, we got a splash of it.
Go
last
for it,
night
because I
after
didn't
Raw.
see it.
Yep.
I don't know. So, spoiler: she beat Becky in the cage match to retain the title. There were some more inadvertent shenanigans afoot from Dom. And then after the match, Dom is standing in the aisle or on the ramp, and Liv comes up and looks at him for a moment, and then plants one on him, just full on.
And he kind of does the
put her
no
mouth
sell,
on
a
his
little bit
mouth.
of like,
Yeah, like I'm not supposed to be doing
I'm not
this.
kissing back, but
It looked a little like Shang Tsung sucking the soul out of someone to get their power. Is
We
how
make
it
a lot of
looked
Mortal
little.
Kombat references on this show. We really do. We gotta do a MK night sometime.
But
oh man.
yeah, I mean, yeah.
and then wasn't there a tease, another background shot with JD McDonough?
With JD McDonough, there was the one last week with Finn. She got out of the car that Finn got out of.
She's gotten to everybody so far. Except Priest.
And there's a reason
Except
for
Priest, yeah, and maybe Priest is the odd man out.
There's a title
for a
match
reason.
coming up, and there's lots of things happening.
And you know who will gladly benefit?
As a matter of fact, Finn.
I was just gonna.
Who?
Yeah.
Well, I was gonna say Finn and JD even came out to stop Dom from helping Becky win last night.
I got it. I know what the fuck's gonna happen. We know what's gonna happen. Who?
All right.
Firstly,
All right.
I have thoughts and opinions.
There it is.
Here we go. Drew McIntyre has been the type of dude that will gladly take help in situations where it will benefit him. And let's not forget that the reason why this whole thing happened to begin with is because he went and goaded the title in front of CM Punk, and then Damian Priest saw an opportunity, leapt to it, beat Drew, and you think to yourself, Drew and Damian don't really have much of a story here, and that's fine, actually. They don't really need much of a story. The story is the title, plain and simple, right? Damian's got the title.
And that he stole it.
Damian's got the title that he stole from Drew, and Drew wants it back. So, why not have Liv Morgan go in there, cause all these problems, and get these people to join her version of the Judgment Day or whatever it might be, which I don't think it will be the Judgment Day.
She's a succubus.
I think she's a succubus.
She's a succubus.
She's dismantling, and that's sick. That is such a sick narrative.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So she is, because she said she's going to ruin Rhea's world. Rhea is gone, and she is destroying the Judgment Day. And the last little nugget that she's going to do is help Drew McIntyre somehow, some way, win the World Heavyweight title, taking the belt from Damian Priest, which is going to give Damian and Drew a really cool story, because then you start to get Damian chasing the title, which I think will be interesting. And let's not forget, you also have a certain, Chicago-made Punk that could very well be involved in all of that too. So you get yourself a fancy little triple threat situation going on potentially. And then who comes back to try and fuck shit up?
And
the Juggernaut. Actually, the Juggernaut's over in TNA, but let's say the Colossus, of Rhea Ripley. She shows up. That pop is going to be massive. She-Hulk, yeah, even better.
Oh yeah.
I think that's what's going to happen. And Clash of the Castle, Drew's going to win the belt, and it's going to be because of Liv.
My only concern, it's not even a concern. It's just kind of like a little meh part of this story. That part is all great, which I think does set it apart. They're kind of doing a little bit of I feel like a rehash on a B level of what they did with Seth at Mania. Remember, and Drew's even said this in promos, Damian, you're distracted. Judgment Day nonsense. This stuff with Carlito and Rey Mysterio, all that. He's like, you've got a title match coming up. I'm coming for that title.
Yeah.
You need to focus. It's kind of the same thing, which is not bad, but like, it seems like it's the same thing.
It's
but
not bad.
Down a
It's
peg a
not
little
bad
bit.
to me because it all makes sense. It all makes sense.
And it does legitimately, it does give a reason for
Yeah.
Priest to kind of be unaware of some of the shit that's going on right
Yeah.
under his nose. It's like, all right, I'm trying to settle this shit with Carlito and Ray and whatever the hell's going on with all that stuff. Trying to keep my hands on everybody in the Judgment Day. Basically, yeah, trying to step into that leader role that he kind of jumped into when he won the world title. You know, kind of leapt into maybe, yeah. and
Well,
there's
because
just a
remember,
lot
he
to handle,
always
and so maybe it
kind
could
of
lead.
made it feel like he was the leader. Remember, there was like the weird point where there was a bit of odd friction between Damian and Rhea, and Damian was doing his thing and Rhea was doing her thing, and there was just like a bit of contention and confusion. But then when things started to clean up, it was very clear. It was like Damian and Rhea are running the show. Then the injury happens, and then you know, all of this kind of builds from there. It's honestly brilliant. It really is. If this is the direction that they go in, and look, no matter what happens, I'm still satisfied because it's going to lead to great matches, and I'm pumped to see where they go. But I would really like to see this multi-layered story kind of come to fruition with parties involved that aren't directly involved in the actual matches themselves, you know, like they're like puppet masters from the side, and then it's kind of like manipulating things to go their way. Like, I just find that to be so good, and it fits the succubus character incredibly well of Liv Morgan. She has been dynamite, by the way.
She's really coming into her own.
This
in this
is the
version of
Liv
character,
Morgan
too. Like,
we knew
yeah.
was coming. We saw it from a mile away.
Yeah.
And I am so happy. So happy.
Yes.
I mean, yeah. Just
Yeah, she's been great, and she's only going to keep getting better. I mean, this is going to be a really fun title reign, and like you said, when Rhea comes back, man, that's going to be a big match. It's going to be a lot of fun.
I'm trying to remember what they said. So it's her shoulder, but I don't remember.
What, Rhea's timeline?
Yeah, I thought it wasn't crazy. It was like 2 to 4 months.
yeah.
I believe. And knowing wrestlers, they often like to rehab hard, and they can come back a little. So even if it was 4 months, probably
3
come back
months before she's cleared to perform.
which she got hurt at, what was it?
Yeah,
Mania?
which was
or
yeah,
the night after me.
so you're talking June.
June. You know what's in June?
June, July. So basically,
June,
SummerSlam is
July.
a very
SummerSlam.
real
And the
timeline,
real and the honest to God
which would be
truth is,
huge.
Oh my
Go for
God.
it. You're seeing it. You're seeing it. You're like dialed into the Matrix. You've just been uploaded in.
The ultimate is if Rhea. Oh man, this would be great. Rhea comes back to face Liv, and Liv retains the title with help from Dominic Mysterio.
Yes. That's it. That's the
Because there is nobody the WWE Universe loves to hate more than Dominic Mysterio. If you thought Dom had nuclear heat now, wait until he helps Liv Morgan
it would be
retain
it would be
against
heat
Rhea
to the
Ripley.
temperature of the sun. You know.
It will register on the Richter scale, that boo in Cleveland. Oh my God.
Go for
would
it.
be.
I don't have thoughts and opinions.
It's fair.
But I have fantasy booking.
Okay.
And I will thank the internet in part for this, because the meme popped up immediately after the King and Queen of the Ring match with Becky. But I think we get there. I think that could be very interesting, and I need this, if not to culminate, at least have it be a step in the road. Maybe Berlin, which is right after SummerSlam, or it could be later into the fall. We need Liv Morgan versus Rhea Ripley for the custody
Yes!
of Dominic Mysterio. But, so here's the thing.
But
You
he's
could play
suspended
on
in the
old
shark
match.
cage above the
You could do it in the shark cage with the idea being like, all right, he betrayed Rhea,
Yeah.
so she wouldn't want his custody. But the idea is if Liv wins, she retains her title and Dom is safe. But if Rhea wins, she gets her title back and gets 5 minutes alone in a cage or in the ring with Dominic or whatever. And she whoops his
beating
ass.
of a lifetime.
Yeah.
Dude. So we're just going to get Dominic Mysterio on a pole match. I'm in. I'm so in. Move aside, Judy Bagwell.
You can do it one of two ways.
There's a new.
You can do it one of two ways. You dress Dom up like
I
a
love it.
pinata and suspend
all
him
about
above the ring. And you can win either by beating the stuffing out of him or retrieving
Also, the sweet
him
irony of him
from
being a
where he
Mexicano
is
and all
hung
of this
above
is
the
also
ring.
hilarious and is not lost on me whatsoever. So as a Latino,
Of
I
course.
fully endorse
Yeah.
this, and I think it would be some of the greatest content that WWE ever puts forward. Yeah.
good.
There's a story here that has, as Jake likes to say, meat on the bone. Okay, there's a lot
Meat
of
on
meat.
the bone.
I would go as far as to say
Absolutely.
this is a chunky sumbitch, and we're going to
yeah.
be feasting.
Husky.
Smothered, covered,
this is a-
chunked,
Yes,
dipped in
absolutely.
gravy.
this is
Oh,
delicious.
yeah.
It's going to be good. It's going to be really good. It's just so many good narratives that WWE can spin out right now. Also, and before we move on, a small aside, I do want to give a massive shout out to Jade Cargill and Bianca Belair because I like the fact that they are a tag team and I think they need to do the new Mega Powers. They need to have some really sick name. I want them to just go even further with it, and then I want them also, to really start building more women's tag teams. Do it.
Yep.
Just do it. Just do it. Okay, that's all that we asked for. Because those belts are cursed, and I think those two women are capable of being able to lift that curse. So we'll see what happens there. King of the Ring was great. Good episode of Raw. Dominic Mysterio on a pole match. Book it and ship it. Trips. I hope you're watching. You're not, but it's okay. We forgive you. Now let's go ahead and move on.
Well, he's as many things as we've correctly predicted on this program. He might
I'm just
be
saying,
watching.
man.
I don't know.
I watch. I don't want to say I consume a lot of pro wrestling influencer content.
Oh,
Sorry,
okay. I didn't know where that was going. It's like you consume
I
a lot
consume
of pro wrestling.
But it's interesting that when I go out and watch, I see the landscape. Just people don't think about wrestling like this, and it's so obvious. But yet, all they want to do is just go on the internet and bitch because it didn't go the way that they wanted it to go, or because they decided to hitch their wagon to a particular corporation that has no interest in their existence outside of the money that they provide them.
So weird.
It's so fucking weird. It really is. And it's A, grow up. B, grow up. C, touch grass. And D, open your eyes. Open your eyes. Wrestlers are telling stories. They're telling good fucking stories. And it feels like everyone is being elevated across the board, like elevated in a way where they're being challenged. WWE is the way it is right now because it has been challenged by so many other great, not just AEW, so many other great professional wrestling options that are out there. And you got to improve your product over time, and it's only led to just better shit.
But it's not even challenging because that's the thing that people always think of when they think of wrestling is that it's adversarial between these companies. It's an inspiration
That's a better
thing
word.
too. They're being
That's a better word.
inspired by each other to come up with great stuff oh man, did you see what they did on what if we took that and did that? I mean, that's how some of the best shit happens anyway. It's
also some of the best TV shows.
It's an inspiration.
Comic
They're
books,
music.
Yes,
Yes.
you take inspiration from one another and you build upon it. It's it's the.
And there's nothing wrong with that. Why would you discourage that? Yeah, it's
mind blowing
I
to me.
stand
But
kind of
this leads us to an excellent segue into AEW Double or Nothing. I had the pleasure.
We didn't even talk about Gunther and Randy.
No, we did not talk
There's
about
not
Gunther
much
and Randy.
to talk about outside of the fact that the match was fantastic.
But
Go
just
for
before
it.
we move on,
The shoulder being up.
it was clean cut, right? It's cut and dry, no heat. It's just a tournament ender. We got our new King Gunther. It's true. So story point, but all I got to say is people go
That
out of your way to
shoulder,
watch it.
we're not concerned about that shoulder.
The
I don't think they know what
I
to do
think
with it
was
right
a
now.
legitimate mistake. Yeah, I think it was a legitimate fuck. So they're gonna have. I think they're gonna have
it
to
was so
give
good.
I think Randy is legitimately
Yeah.
a little banged up. He's probably gonna take a couple weeks off, come back, write me a quick Gunther. Fine, I'll man up and give you a rematch. King of the Ring, the title shot at SummerSlam on the line. They have a banger on Raw or SmackDown or maybe at Money in the Bank or some shit like that. And then Gunther wins definitively and gets out. But I just wanted to say,
I 100%.
It is
100%. Go out of your way to watch it.
Man.
It's
2024, and we had a match that had no dives and had Gunther going off the top rope once to miss a splash, and that's it. The rest of it was Matt wrestling.
Twice. He had that one where he kind of fell a little bit, but salvaged it, and then that one where he rolled out, he rolled through it, and Randy RKO'd him.
But just very deliberate, incredibly well paced. 101 pro wrestling done.
Yeah.
The selling is so good.
No.
Okay,
you are 100% right.
Yeah.
It when I think of right now, and look, this could be a controversial take, but I'm okay saying it, and I don't think a lot of people disagree. I think Gunther's the best professional wrestler working the business right now. I really think he is.
Funny, I think Randy Orton's the best professional wrestler.
And both of those men were in that fucking match, so take your pick.
Yeah.
Honestly, man.
Yeah.
Week in and week out, Gunther puts on great matches. Gunther lost at WrestleMania. He lost at WrestleMania. That would be, in other years, it would be a death knell for that particular individual. And yet, he just gets better. He just continues to push him forward.
He's just as dangerous as he was before. He's as much of a threat.
And I know, and I want to be clear here, and I know I'm saying this, understanding that Will Ospreay lives and breathes. And I think Will Ospreay is also just one of, the greatest high flyer in the business right now. The greatest, it's weird. I don't want to say this in a disparaging way, but one of the greatest acrobatic wrestler right now outside of Ricochet. And really the only reason why I'll put him over Ricochet at this point in time, even though Will Ospreay probably wouldn't put himself over Ricochet, is purely because of the fact that, Will is in a bit more, bigger programs right now. He's doing a little bit more, and you kind of have to give that. He has a title.
That wasn't created by...
Will is a more well-rounded
and that too, right?
Yeah.
But also Ricochet is the GOAT.
And he has a title that can be seen in more places than just Twitter. I think that's probably...
It's just like I'm already like I already hate Twitter as it is, and knowing that is the case, it's like just so shitty, But it's also Ricochet will have his time. I am convinced he will have his time. One way or another, he will have his moment, and I hope I'm there to watch it live. That's the only thing. But let's go ahead though and move on to AEW Double or Nothing. And I know we didn't touch on Nia Jackson, Lyra Valkyria, but for being honest, we all kind of saw that one happening. Those two put on a great match. Lyra's going to kick ass. Nia's going to go in a program with Bayley. We'll talk more about that next week. Now, Double or Nothing. I love the shit out of this show. I had so much fun watching it, but I will agree with a lot of people. It was a lot of matches. And when you run that as a juxtaposition to WWE bringing their cards smaller, whereas AEW is expanding their cards, here's the thing. I'm okay with AEW having more matches because they shouldn't do something just because WWE is doing it. right? Like, they should do their own thing, and
Right.
that's that. And the matches had plenty of space, right? Because the pay-per-view is like practically 5 hours long, or 4 hours long, or whatever it was. It was a long time. But I did enjoy every single minute of that pay-per-view that I watched. Even the matches that weren't like that engaging to me initially, I enjoyed them. They had great storytelling. They had good pacing. They are very clearly, rather I should say, they're very, they have a path. They know what they want to accomplish with their narratives, I feel. We don't have to go through every match in the card, but we'll start with the one that was the most obvious going into it, but I liked what came out of it, which was Mercedes Moné winning the TBS title. Now,
I was about to say, there's about 3 that I could say are the most
there were a lot of obvious ones, but this one was just
outcomes.
Yeah, a couple
this
clear
one was
cuts.
obvious from the get-go.
Yeah.
Like, from Jump Street. I never doubted it. All I'm going to say of this, and you guys go ahead and pop off from there, is that I like the fact that Mercedes won. I said this online on Threads. I was like, I like the fact that Mercedes won because I think Willow is ready for the big time. I think Willow is ready for that next step, and I think a blood feud with Chris Statlander, who cost her, her match and her title, I think is a good way to build her up even more as this babyface superstar, because her reaction was massive. The fans love her. She is quickly a homegrown talent who has truly found her voice, and I am very excited to see where this program goes with Chris and Willow, because that has been building for God knows how long. So, yeah, fellas, your thoughts?
Yeah, I'm just glad that they have something for Willow to do.
Yeah.
That was my biggest concern going into this match, was
next?
that she would just disappear.
Poof.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I am so glad that they built it into the match so that we can see
Right away.
what her path is immediately. Yeah, so that it's not just so that she still keeps. You can lose and still keep
Gunther.
momentum. That's the thing. That's the beautiful thing about wrestling, right? So, and I think Willow did that because it was a hell of a match. I mean, they put on a fucking show, and that's exactly what they needed to do in order to keep this like good heat with Willow. So I'm glad that happened. I'm glad that we don't have to wait until well, I guess by now it'll be tonight.
We know what's happening
to see
now.
Where. Well, I guess for you it would be today. But by the time this comes out, it'll have been yesterday. Time is fucky, man. Yeah,
Time is relative.
Ball in the
yeah.
space.
So I'm just glad that we didn't have to wait to see that, because I think that would have been a big injustice to Willow and what she's done and how she's built herself up over the past few months. So I'm glad that happened, and I think the match did right by her. It made both of them look like. I mean, this is not the last time we're seeing these two fight. It's not the last time we're going to see them in a match, and I can see it. One day, like they're going to be fighting for the women's title, the women's world title. I mean, this is a feud that could go on for a long time.
Matt, what do you think?
I mean, I think it'll with pauses in between, like you could pick it up 6 months.
Oh yeah,
right.
Oh
like
yeah,
in a different scenario.
Yeah, like it's a Rock Stone Cold type, like
Yeah,
or
It was
it's
like
just
Becky
like
and Sasha.
they're always
You
going to
know,
be connected,
or Charlotte and
Or Becky
Charlotte
and
and
Sa-
Becky, or any of the four horsewomen going up against one another. You could pick that up, and there's
Right.
always a narrative there. Crazy to think too that this was really just like some random booking at a New Japan show. And then they really built off it. People gave Tony Khan a lot of shit for they're like, he's just doing New Japan storylines. But it's like, dude, you see a storyline, you fucking take the storyline. Like, it was a good story, you know?
And then build.
And that's what they're doing. That's what
That's what they did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we'll see what happens. I like. I also, one last thing I'll say on this. but even though it was obvious that Mercedes was going to win, and even though I think they kind of lost themselves a few times in what Mercedes' role was going to be in this whole feud, the way that they handled it, creating this clear division that will now exist between Willow, because she's going to go and handle business with Chris, and now Sasha can Mercedes Moné can kind of go and do her thing. I don't know what's next for Mercedes. I honestly think it would be cool if she did wrestle more often, and was, featured on the show a bit more. I don't like the idea of her wrestling here and there. I think, this is the place where the best wrestle.
I'm afraid that's what's going to happen.
I'm afraid
now.
What's going to happen is it's going to be either a tournament, which they shouldn't do, or like some kind of battle royale, and she's not going to wrestle. But I can't see. I don't know. If you want to establish her as a face, she's got to wrestle, I think. Right?
She's not a face.
I don't think they're establishing her as a face. I
felt like she was. Dude, she had like this opening thing about like, empowerment and doing, working, building for yourself. Like, in the match, it's
you can do that and still be a bitch.
This is true.
It's weird. No, because you're right. I feel like she's wanted to be like a tweener her whole career.
Yeah,
she's wanted to kind of, which I get, to oscillate either way depending on the situation. You know what I mean? So I could see it either way. I think she's just
she's just so good
talent. That's what she is, and she can be the CEO money like bitch,
like asshole gimmick,
badass kind of thing, or she can be the self-made kind of came up, believed in myself.
How
sort
can
of deal.
you be? There's no likable CEOs. There's no such thing as a likable CEO.
It's fair.
There's just not. So how can you be a face?
We'll see. We'll see. I thought that it was going to be, which I didn't want. I thought it was going to be like Chris and Stokely joining Mercedes and blah blah blah. I'm just so glad they didn't do that.
Well,
let's.
We'll see.
You think so? Well, yeah, I mean, I'm glad it didn't appear like that.
Because they said, we'll let you know on Wednesday.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, they said we'll let you. You'll find out on Wednesday why we did it. I mean, you think it's you really think that the woman with Monet as her last name, calling herself the CEO, had nothing to do? It's just
Stokely's demeanor throughout that whole thing led me to believe that it isn't tied to her.
Stokely's an S tier dirtbag though. So I mean,
that dude is genuinely a son of a bitch. Like he plays that character just so well. Truly does. All right. Well, like we said, there are a lot of matches on the card. Death Triangle lost to the Bang Bang Gang. We don't have to get into all that. But Juice Robinson is back, and heckin' love that guy.
Happy to
his
see
hair is just. I'm as an individual who is follically challenged. I despise you, Juice Robinson. Give me your hair, as George Bluth once famously said. Give me your hair. That would be really nice. But I did want to touch briefly on another obvious match that was on the card. But again, just another genuine masterclass between two individuals who are really just at the peak of their game. And there's Will Ospreay versus Roderick Strong for the international title. Will Ospreay wins the belt. Great match overall. Roderick Strong being the Messiah, the backbreaker, really bringing that back into the forefront. I think really homed in the fact that Roderick Strong is like the real effing deal, and that I think was what they needed. Even though the match had weird moments the build-up had weird moments where you weren't quite sure why this was happening or what the intention was. They honestly took chicken shit and turned it into chicken soup very, very quickly, and then put on a great match as a result. Matt, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, that was never.
Yeah, the match was never in doubt.
But that those two are going to be awesome. I think we clearly, again, Will is on a run. There was no way it kind of stutter steps here. First title in AEW, put it on him. Let's try to elevate the international title. Let's see what he can do with that. Is he going to be defending it? My intrigue is, what happens now? Where do we go with this Will Ospreay run? Are we doing John Cena level every week? Defend this shit.
Which that belt has kind of been.
Because that's kind of been his reputation, right? Is like, I'm wrestling every week. I'm having great matches, whether they're 8 minutes or 18 minutes, whatever they are. Do we continue? Like, for his, I get it. I want him to have.
But guys, we are there to a unification match between the international and the continental title to create the International Continental Championship.
The INC title.
I don't think it's gonna happen, but that would be nice. But that's the problem, though. It's like the international title has felt more important than the continental title, and it's not because it's in Okada's hands. No, it's just because, like, where do you put that belt? You know, like, where do you put that belt on that show? It doesn't really make a lot of sense. It looks good that Okada has it, but it doesn't really matter if he's not doing much with it. So, that's where I'm like really confused by that. But anyway, I mean, I don't know how much more we need to dive into this because it really wasn't much in the way of storyline stuff. But the other thing, which I thought was actually really cool, was after all that had concluded, MJF returned. I didn't put it on the run of show, but we'll talk about this real fast. We got to talk about it.
Yeah, huge,
MJF
huge.
is back in the play, or back in the fold again, and immediately buried the demon or the devil gimmick really fast. Hit Cole in the gonads, and then Cole. The guy's just great. He'll always be there to do the things that need to be done. And I don't know what happens with Undisputed Kingdom. But if I'm being completely transparent, I don't know if I care that much about what happens. I prefer the Kingdom. I prefer Roderick Strong, Bennett and Taven. I prefer that over Cole being involved in this whole thing. But yeah, that we'll see what happens. But what do you guys think of MJF returning? That was one hell of a promo, man. I really, really liked it. Even when people were like, why do you have to say Vince McMahon? It rhymed. That's all it was. It just rhymed. He said New Japan or Vince McMahon. It rhymed, and it worked out really well. Because if there's one,
and it was classic MJF because it was that, oh my gosh, I can't believe you said it.
It's him. He can get away with it. I don't know how long he can get away with it, but he can get away with it, and we're going to continue to let him get away with it. But also 2002 Triple H get-up gimmick. Fucking loved it. Loved it. But yeah, Jake, what you got?
Yeah. I mean, I thought, like you said, it was a great promo. It was super passionate. He's still over with the crowd. Loved the kind of remix of his theme. It kind of sounded like. Did it sound a little different, or am I crazy? It sounded like it was remixed a little bit. But yeah, I mean, I respect that they were just like, fuck this story. Well, that's dead. We're not doing that anymore. It's over. We're moving on. I respect the hell out of them for doing that, of just being like, nah, this wasn't it. We're going to do something else. I'm coming back. I'm going to be here for a while. I like that he addressed, that he wasn't leaving.
He literally branded himself.
Branded himself, yeah. And, of course, smartly put it over a place that can be covered up.
Which is okay. Everyone, that's another thing people are fucking weird about.
Oh, if he really cared about AEW, he'd put it on his shoulder or he'd let everyone see it.
No, it's okay. No, it's fine. It was a core memory for him. Let him have his thing. Like, good Lord.
Right. Yeah. What, are you mad that Adam Copeland came to AEW? He's a fucking Hall of Famer in WWE. Like, it doesn't make, like, you can't be mad at
it. Doesn't make any sense.
Yeah,
it's silly.
Just stop with the dumbass tribalism
lame.
shit.
So
like,
lame.
good God, it's not fucking politics. Right? It's wrestling. Anyway, yeah, no, I thought it was a great promo. Glad that he's back. Can't wait to see where we go from here. He's pissed off, determined.
Now,
yeah, I think
do we think that, because if we're being honest, with an MJF returning and what had happened at Anarchy in the arena, do we see that potentially cross paths? Because I'm not mad about that, if that's the case.
MJF, the AEW White
if he's
Knight.
Team AEW,
I mean,
yeah. Like a Kurt Angle driving out with a milk truck kind of rescue by MJF. I could see that. I because I don't know where that goes either. I mean, I guess I know you were a huge fan of that match. I don't know if you want to talk about it now or later, because that feels
we can talk about it.
We'll
talk
tied
Cope
to that.
Black first, and then we'll move on to Anarchy. But yeah.
Right.
But yeah, I don't know. Honestly, we'll find out.
I think he could. I think just that character's hard. I mean, I'm not trying to give him a bigger head.
He already got a big ass head.
You run these kind of like
yeah, you can't
that stone cold kind of thing, right? He's a good guy. People like him, but he's kind of bad guy tendencies and anti-authority. So it's hard to put those guys as your company White Knight hero stories. I mean, especially he's had such heated things, to say about Tony in character, in promos and stuff like that. But I mean, I guess they've done it with Austin. Like I said, they have done it with Austin, where he's come to save the WWF
Which
or
was
whatever,
sick.
and even though he hated Vince for so long, right? So I guess it is possible. I'm also excited about I don't want it to end the title reign, but I'm excited about a potential MJF Swerve Strickland world title matchup in the coming months. Hopefully not for a little while down the line, but that's going to be...
that could be. I mean, the problem is, the problem is right now, is you have 4 guys in this company, and I'm only naming these 4 guys with understanding that there are more than 4, but these are the 4. Will Ospreay, MJF, Okada, Swerve Strickland. You have 4 really profound talents on your roster, guys who look good with gold, guys who are folks that draw eyeballs to your product. And Okada maybe not as much-ish, but
Samoa Joe?
I mean, always and forever. But I think Joe's cooling off right now. It seems like he's just kind of doing his thing. Although, if I'm being real,
sure,
a Samoa Joe Okada feud for the Continental Championship would not be a bad idea.
I could get behind that.
And that is where you kind of have that take place on Collision primarily, and I think that could work. But again, how does that fit? How does it fit in the broader story? I don't know. We'll have to see. But this is where it is exciting for AEW. They have a million directions they can go in with these characters.
Absolutely.
So I don't know. But for this next match though, we won't touch on it too long outside of the fun parts, but because especially with what has just been announced.
Yeah, you want to talk about not knowing what the hell happens from here. I definitely don't know what happens from here. With Adam Copeland having broken his
What's
tibia.
the tibia again? I don't know the body. Oh,
leg bone.
I wonder why.
Yeah.
Did you guys see
leg.
why he broke
lower
his
leg.
tibia?
Oh, yeah, because he jumped off the fucking top
And
of
landed.
the cage
Onto
and
his
just
feet.
landed
Yeah.
on his feet.
But his video was really
Now,
thought?
I don't have training as a professional
Shit.
wrestler. I don't know how evident that is, but I got to say, it seemed odd to land on your feet having jumped off of a 20-foot
I wouldn't be shocked, man, if he was at that moment and he was like, holy shit, I'm 50. Ah! And then he just went and...
Which can happen. I mean, it's a simple case. I mean, I don't know, but it could be. Sometimes you do it our body's instinct. I always tell people that's why wrestling is so weird. Our body's instinct is to stand up. That's why bumping and everything is so weird. But sometimes our body's instinct is the worst thing for us physically. A great example: is if you're falling backwards, your body wants to put your hands behind you to stop the fall. That's instinct. That instinct is wrong because you'll break your wrists 9 times out of 10, especially if you're falling from height. This one, I don't know if he was thinking splash and
I don't know if he was thinking splash or senton. And it was,
and just was like, nope. And it just kind of didn't commit. And sometimes that's
or if he was trying to do an elbow drop but land next to the table for some reason. I don't know. It seemed partly like he was worried about landing on Malachi from that height. Is almost what it seemed like, where he was like, fuck, I don't want to hurt him.
Meanwhile, Malachi is just like, destroy me, please.
And then,
I want.
and then it just looked like every backyard video of a guy jumping off his house to do a wrestling move, and then that's almost how it looked. It did not look like that's clearly where that injury happened. I mean, he was already limping before,
but after that, though. But the thing is, the match was still very fun. They had a good time with it. Very bloody, very violent. Not as bloody as like Hangman and Swerve or Thunder Rosa and Britt Baker. Nowhere to that regard. Or just a casual Jon Moxley matchup. It was
just him shaving every morning.
It was an adequate amount of blood, and for the feud. But the thing that bothers me is that Copeland shouldn't have won, and I will stand by that. I don't think it made much sense for Copeland to win,
because I don't know where they were going after that. If he,
especially when he won, they didn't play Slayer. Like, they didn't play the song that he came out with. They played freaking On This Day, they freaking did that. So it made it seem like, like Adam Copeland is back. It was very bizarre. But that being said, Gangrel showing up, even though we all had an inclination that this was going to happen, it was so awesome. And just great. It was great to see the crowd.
Mm-hmm. The Brood entrance, great. Even with Brood written on everything, was very cool.
It was great. But I don't think we're getting much more Brood for a little while.
No,
and
not now.
Honestly, I say you just slap that belt on Malachi, and let him
vacate it.
Yeah, let him go on a fucking run,
Yeah, but you know what they love to do. There's going to be a tournament of some kind, I'm sure.
They can do a tournament. They're already doing a tournament. They're doing the Owen Hart. They're doing the Owen.
That's what they do. I know.
But the Owen will be for a title shot, which is awesome, because that's what that tournament I think needed, not pink belts. As much as cool as those belts did look, it just wasn't, because I like pink. Yes. It just wasn't a good idea. So it's nice that they're doing a title shot, and also just to bring it back to the weirdo tribalists again,
Matt.
who are all like,
but WWE just did a tournament for the title shot.
They're not the same fucking company. I don't know how many times I have to tell you this. Like, they're just different entities.
Right. Also, they don't have that. Yeah, they don't have like the market cornered on tournaments. Like, it's not like they didn't create the concept of a tournament.
And also decades.
And by the way, if you want to say anything about AEW tournaments, AEW's leaned on tournaments so much more than WWE has over the course of their existence, and has done it very well. Let's not forget how fucking based the Continental Crown tournament thing was. That literally spun out so many different narratives in the company, and yet everyone just casually just forgot about it. Well, they forgot about it because of Continental, thing. But they are good at doing tournaments and building narratives off of it. So let them cook, fam.
Yeah.
Let them cook.
Yeah. I think maybe you do some kind of, triple threat or fatal four-way type thing to, for the vacated title. It's going to be Malachi Black. I mean, he's worked his ass off.
Brody King.
I imagine he's going to be the one.
Or Brody King would be a fucking dope-ass run. I would be all about that, you know.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I'm sure we'll get some movement on that on Dynamite. They'll probably make a mention, and then if I had to make a guess, it will be something that happens on Collision because this is like so sudden. So I would imagine this is something that will come to fruition on Collision. That was a good rhyme. I'm proud of myself. Let's move on though to the gift that was Anarchy in the Arena. Look, I know some people just would have hated it because it was just
real fire. Crimea River. Real fire. By the way,
okay, so let's just go ahead and do the business first. Going into this matchup, there was always a thought in our minds, and I think we mentioned it multiple times in the show, that the Elite would win this. It made the most sense narratively, especially if you want to establish the Elite as like the dominant big faction within the company. So none of that was bad. And in fact, how we got there was genuinely great, even better than I could have imagined. I did not have Jack Perry hitting Bryan Danielson with his own move to win the match as the way that they did it, you know, while Darby Allin was suspended, hanging, losing all the blood rushing to his head, crowd chanting, "Please help Darby." It was just so good. Also, Final Countdown, fuck yes, in every conceivable way. That was just so fun. The fact that they had played the music and then Brian was just like, "No, that music sucks ass. Play the greatest theme song of all time." Final Countdown was so good. I loved it so much. I had so much fun watching that, and it
lived up to the name, Anarchy.
That's what it's all about, man. It was just about fun. It was a fun fucking match. But I want to hear what you guys think, because I could go off on this all day. But let's Matt, why don't you give me the start first here, because I know you're always like hit or miss on these things. Sometimes I think you're all about it, sometimes you just like say you're not. What were your thoughts on Anarchy in the Arena?
So yeah, no, I think it has to go. This is not my cup of tea.
I knew it. Good.
Subjectively speaking, and a lot of people could love it. For me, not my favorite type of pro wrestling. Ironically, see, like I love when things go weird and over the top. Like I love the cinematic Matt Hardy compound matches, or like the Firefly Funhouse, because it's so over and it's in that digital format, so you can just really play with how your world lives and works, and it almost feels like a separate thing. When it comes to things done in the arena, I'm all for chaos, you know, things, big 8-man, like street fight, things like, but like, it just goes over a line to me where it feels silly as opposed to like badass. Again, totally me. I'm not saying this is the way it is. I'm just saying the way I soak it all in. So it's flamethrowers and hanging people upside down for the arena, like. It's not my kind of thing for pro wrestling, but like a lot of chaos, it really lived up to the name, and you can't take that away from it. It was wild, out of control,
and I get it, I appreciate your perspective. I understand. I accept your apology.
I feel heard. Whoa! Wow. Easy now.
I will.
One toke over the line, sweet
forgive
GB.
you for
One
your
toke over the line.
No, I'm kidding. Jake, what about you?
Wow.
How dare you?
Man, this was like a potluck of wrestling. It's like when you're like, hey, everyone just bring over a dish, bring over a side, bring over whatever you want. You don't know what the hell's going to happen, what people are going to bring. And then you get there and you're like, well, this is an interesting combination of foods that we all have here. You know, like here's okay, this is nice. Someone brought mac and cheese. So this person clearly just went to KFC and grabbed a bucket of chicken. Yeah, that's fine. This is, I think, a potato side. I don't really know. There's some cheese.
Some guy showed up with fish tacos. You're kind of confused. Didn't really fit the theme, but all right. I like fish tacos. I'll fuck with it.
Yes.
All right.
Yeah. Kevin brought absinthe. Like, it's a weird, like, it's just like, you're like, what is this? And you kind of like, okay, well, let's keep everything separated a little bit and try it. And then you start mixing it. Like, that's all it was. It was just a wrestling potluck. That was what was so great. Like, I felt like it was, you knew what you were getting into going into it, but there was still like a little something for everybody. You weren't going to enjoy the whole meal. You're not going to enjoy the whole meal, but there was some things there, but you're like, okay, I left full. Like I ate, you know? I think it's just kind of a situation of, like I said, you knew what you were getting into going into it. And like, this was one of those matches where you have fun because you can see the wrestlers are having fun.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? True. Those are sometimes, like, wrestling's like that. There are some, like, sitcoms that are like that where you're like, I know they were having fun in this scene. You can tell, and that's what makes it even better. Like, that's what this match was to me. Like, it was just like their, you know, like their inner child came out and was like, what if we did this? And what if we had an exploding chair? What if we had shoes covered in tacks? What if we hung up out at Darby Allin like a
showed
fucking
up, by the way, wearing a
pinata
face mask covered
and
in
left everyone,
you know, like little things like that.
like,
little things.
Yeah,
and then Brick killed
he's
a guy.
the Kevin who showed up with absinthe,
You know,
or
man.
Darby Allin. Yeah,
Exactly.
There was a
genuinely
trident.
what this was. I also said this. I was like, this whole match was the fight scene from Anchorman.
Anchorman,
It was the fight scene from Anchorman.
It was the news team
because
fight.
a man was lit on fire.
Yes.
Someone showed up with a horse. Like there was just a lot going on. You know. I just.
It was like if you asked Old Spice, the Old Spice commercial people, to make a wrestling match, book a wrestling match, and just all this random shit comes together. It was a lot of fun. It was just another, you know, it's another side of wrestling that I don't think you see well, you don't see it. I was going to say you don't see it often enough. I think you see it adequately, and I think when it's done right and done well, it's enjoyable. I thought this was enjoyable, especially for what it was, which was just going to be a shit show, and that's fine sometimes, and it was great.
Before we talk about story stuff, I also really do want to give a lot of credit to the planning of this event. The way that they doused Jack in the like whatever that coolant water was or thing to like.
Yeah, it was done safely.
They then did the whole like Jack ran over Darby and was out for a little while, and then Darby coming out looking like a psychopath, and then they even Matt and Jackson getting the fire extinguishers was because they were going to put Darby out, and then Darby. Jack brings out Tony Khan, which again was another really good like callback because it just worked out with the story, and then which had the funniest bit, which you'll see on social media, of Tony Khan rolling down the ramp like
he was on fire. That's what it was like. It was like he was the one that was on fire. He stopped, dropped, and rolled down the ramp.
But my guy is such
no
a
one
pro.
could see
He ducked behind all of the cameras. He made sure he wasn't seen. He backed the fuck out after that, went back to doing the job in the back. And then, the anarchy continued to ensue. But storyline wise, like we said, Elite needed to win this because this, establishes them way more than a hodgepodge of, like some of the best wrestlers in AEW right now. It shows the Elite as a cohesive unit getting shit done, which is really good. And now this really just puts us in a direction of who confronts the Elite next and where do we go from here, which could be MJF, but I have a feeling it's going to involve more Swerve, I think. But before we move on to Swerve and Christian, though, I want to get your guys' thoughts. Like, do you think there's anywhere this goes narratively or anywhere you would like to see it go narratively with any particular wrestlers?
So what I would like to see, for me, is the tough part with something like this. These are always cool, the hostile takeovers, right? NWO, they've done it in WWE with the Ministry and stuff like that. We've talked about it before. They can be very cool. you have to be a little careful, and especially here because they've involved the EVP thing, which is a shoot, right? They actually do have VP status and contract and jobs within the company. But at some point, to vanquish your heels, you can't, in a situation like this, they can't just like lose a match. Haha, got you now, finally. They're like, okay, we're still in charge. You're fired, or you're off this show, or you're. So they need to come up with something, even if it's just a storyline, like Matt and Nick Jackson lose their VP. Of course, in real life, they would. But like on TV, the characters, Matt and Nick Jackson, lose their VP.
Matthew and Nicholas, have some goddamn respect. Like, it's Matthew and Nicholas.
What did I just say? I know
you said Matt and Nick, you son of a bitch. Like, they are executive vice president. Like, what are we doing?
I mean, whatever. I didn't get the. I thought I got the names wrong. I
use their
said,
government name.
Because I sometimes black out and do that. But whatever. M and N need to. They need to be removed from power somehow as a consequence in the end. And so you just got to be careful on how you do that.
I agree.
Yeah.
Jake?
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not sure where exactly things are going to go from here either. If Swerve is going to get involved, it means they've gotten involved in the title picture somehow. Is kind of how I'm feeling about it. Maybe it is MJF who comes back, but like
I don't know. Even that feels. Do we know Christian and the patriarchy attacking and challenging Swerve? Wasn't that at kind
that was
of the
all
behest
Young Bucks? That was the whole story, was that they gave it to him.
They paid them off too, right? Or they gave them kind of So
okay, so well then there you go. There's your connection. I just don't know. Like Anarchy in the Arena seems like what should be your big payoff to everything. Like, this is
it seems like they hit that beat a little early.
Yeah. So I don't know. Like, how do you top a battle like Anarchy in the Arena to begin with, regardless of who it's with? Unless Darby Allin is sacrificed live on pay-per-view, I don't know.
Which he might be okay with.
Where else it goes. I should not have put that out in the universe because Darby's ears just started burning.
What about like a Blood and Guts?
Blood and Guts is a good one.
Yeah, I can see something like that.
They have matches that they can lean on.
Blood and Guts is probably
for sure. You know,
right.
Especially because like Blood and Guts is like the complete opposite of Anarchy in the Arena. Blood and Guts is like meant to be confined wrestling, some combat, some blood. You know, like, but there's so much more to it, and it's not just like
which you can argue would be like someone has to challenge. I think someone has to challenge them to that because I think that's a situation where it's like, hey, if we have free reign to do whatever the hell we want, I'll put my money on the Elite. You know, but if they're locked inside a structure, there's rules that have to be followed. There's whatever. Then that works to their disadvantage. You know, you have the more technically inclined people like Bryan Danielson and whatnot who are coming in there and like, now you're in our world now. This is our home turf. Is right here in this ring. So I'm not sure. This is kind of one where I'm like, I don't know where it's going, but I'm kind of just along for the ride, and I'm okay with that.
I couldn't agree more.
Of just kind of seeing, like you said, they needed this big win to really establish them more as the big bads right now in AEW. But something's going to have to come to a head. I think they're going to have to start. The Elite needs to start pissing off more people within the company for it to really start becoming an issue that other wrestlers are worried about. Because, like you said, both narratively and in real life, they're the EVPs. Why would you want to step up to someone who can just end your career? So something significant, I think, is going to have to happen. This definitely is the beginning of something. But they're just going to be more and more arrogant and cocky than they've ever been because they just won this match, and they're going to have to start getting real insufferable. And I really, that's the direction that I think it's headed is for them to just be more obnoxious, more dangerous, more unpredictable before before some other people within the company are like, this shit's got to stop.
I agree.
That's where I think
you're
it's
right.
all
I think
going.
that is undoubtedly where things head with that, and I think this gives us a great opportunity to move to the, one of the 3 main events at the show, and which is Swerve and Christian. I think it's something to note here is that even though it didn't close the show, I completely understand why it didn't close the show. I am not mad about it.
I
feel like if it, if it was, I will never forgive the WWE for making The Rock and John Cena close the show for a match that ultimately meant nothing. And it was so important. It was so nothing that they did it again the next year for a title in order to make it important. Meanwhile, you had your actual champions on the show not be in the main event. Chris Jericho and CM Punk put on one banger of a match at that WrestleMania. And that's when it was like, that doesn't make sense. Right, that didn't make any sense whatsoever. Outside of it being WrestleMania, and it was 2 marquee wrestlers. I know it sold the tickets.
No,
but the problem is, then get the belt off of CM Punk and then put it on one of them, because you made your champion look.
It doesn't. But it doesn't.
You made your belt. You made your belt seem unimportant, and I think wholly disagree. Wholly disagree.
That's insane.
Wholly disagree. That's why. You want to know why? You want to know why this is wrong? Because they did it the next year for the fucking belt.
I don't want that. That was just because they wanted to capitalize
because they
on it
realized
again.
that they didn't have the belt.
So we have.
And did it need the belt? No, but it also didn't need to be the main event.
No. It didn't need. They didn't do it again because we have to make it more. No, it's just like, we're gonna do this again.
For sure.
More money out of it. So how do we make it a little bit different? We just up the ante with the title. They didn't realize a mistake. Like, oh shoot, we should have had the belt. No, it didn't need it. The main event was bigger than the fucking world title, and that's the fact of the matter.
And I understand that
it was,
but when your business is built upon your titles being important and draws for the show,
it's not though.
From
I don't think it is.
I would say from the outside looking in,
it's
right?
a part of
casual.
In your fictional world, the world title is the biggest thing, but in the real world, like the biggest draw, the biggest stars.
I
don't disagree with what you're saying. I just think that the problem ultimately is that in situations like that, that match meant nothing. Is the point I'm trying to make. It only served the purpose of making a rich man richer. That was it. And granted, yes, that's every single show.
Well, that's all of it.
I feel like Anarchy in the Arena actually served a greater purpose of their story, establishing their stars.
It had a far more.
We are talking 2 different matches
here,
which is also another thing. The only reason why I mention that particular one is because that sticks out to me as like, damn, that just felt so weird. CM Punk felt so unimportant at that pay-per-view, and he was the world champion of the biggest wrestling company in the world. It just was very bizarre to me. Like casual fans who watch it will be like, why is the champion, not coming out in this match, right? Not saying that match wasn't worthy of the main event. It definitely was. I mean, it was The Rock and John Cena. It's just that you want, or at least to me, you would want that to be something a little bit more marquee. Anarchy in the Arena was marquee, right? That was like a big way to kind of like capstone.
Well, but it's also like, I understand. Well, but I also understood why they did it. It's like if you're going to a play, but on the way to the play, you witness a 10-car pileup. All you're going to be thinking about during that play
it was too big of a match.
Is the fucking 10-car pileup
not to be the last match?
And so
too many wild stunts with fire and attacks and stuff like that. It's the last thing you want to have to clean up.
That's all anybody
to go in the arena.
Great, but that's all anyone was going to be thinking about. Like you imagine, no one's going to be able to think straight about Swerve and Christian if someone was just set on fire Like, how do you,
agree.
you like it? Just, I think that's all you're going to be thinking about. It was just because it was such a wild spectacle. It was going to overstay. It had to go last.
And in a similar capacity to Gunther and Randy Orton, the match was great between Christian and Swerve Strickland. Fantastic fucking match, top to bottom. One I encourage people to go watch.
Oh, also, I'm going to call it out because I know that he wouldn't, but our boy Matt named Swerve's house call, which Swerve called out on Twitter yesterday.
No, it was very classy and very cool of him.
The real Memorial Day, memorializing that Matt. No, I can't say that. That's a horrible thing to say. That's a thank you to the. I immediately regret saying that. Yeah,
no, but that was really cool. That was yeah,
it was very.
And
cool,
it just goes to show, Matt, you know your shit. So here I am arguing with you. And
I'm good at
about this.
No, stop it.
This motherfucker out here naming moves for world champions. Golly. Oh my word!
Mm-hmm.
What a man!
Amen. At one time, he was just a kid from NXT, trying, coming up on 205 Live, trying to continue to get his name out there, and just talking with the Max, looking for something to call it. He was still playing with the Swerve's house thing because he was Isaiah Swerve Scott, so it was the house, giving him a visit upside his head. What is it? You're giving him a little house call and. I don't know if it was me or it was. I remember going back and forth with him about some ideas backstage. So,
but it was very clear that conversation
cool
inspired him in a really.
And they stuck with it. He stuck with it throughout.
And he hit some nasty house calls. Let me tell you.
That one they caught.
That one on the spear.
Yeah.
So Swerve Strickland, and here's the thing, right? It's like I said Gunther is it's the best wrestler right now, but Swerve is so he's right there, and it's not even like we're talking like margins here. You know what I mean? We're talking like a Gunther who's at the top of his game right now because he's doing something that's rather old school, but yet feels quite fresh and new at the same time. Will Ospreay, who again he's kind of innovated a style in his own way that has pulled inspiration from the likes of Ricochet, from the likes of Kenny Omega, from all his time in Japan. But what makes Swerve so good is Swerve is his own breed of talent. He's his own style. He could do the high flying, but he could do the big guy stuff. He could do the story stuff, but he can get muddy and he can get nasty and he could do some real hardcore shit. It's like Swerve is carving out a legacy for himself that is just been a joy to watch. I've loved every minute of it. I'm a big fan of the guy. Listen to his podcast as well. When you hear him talk, he's just a good dude. So you just know that this is an individual who not only has earned it, but deserves it too. And then Christian Cage gave him just an excellent matchup, which was literally what he needed. That was it. The perfect first feud for him, just like the way AJ Styles was the perfect first feud for Cody. But the question now is, where do we go from here?
I don't think that's necessarily done. Christian,
I wouldn't mind
either. I'm okay.
I wouldn't. Yeah, I mean, but Christian's his character's not the type who just lets that sit. I think it's going to get
Does
dirtier,
he go into
and it's going to bring
Owen
out
Hart?
that grittier.
Does he go into the Owen Hart maybe? Because it feels like that is what's happening, right? Whoever wins the Owen Hart is going to win. It's going to win a title shot. Does Christian?
Now, something else that we haven't considered, it would be kind of funny if he slithered back in to get the TNT title. If he's like, I'm going to go get it because Cope's gone.
Would be
that would be
his character.
Would be fitting.
Yeah.
So,
I guess in that regard, we'll see what happens with Christian. But I really don't know what we get next with Swerve, which is why I'm inclined to believe that he is going to get involved with the story with the Elite. And I would not be mad. I would not be mad if we go to an Okada Swerve feud.
Swerve.
I was thinking the Elite puts up one of their guys to take the title off.
You know what? We had
really
this guy
try to
with his
consolidate.
team
Or
and all this stuff, and you know what? He couldn't get it done. Thankfully, we have the greatest professional wrestler on the roster in our team. So Okada, let's do this shit. Maybe.
But wait, hold up real quick though. Who is the one guy in the Elite who doesn't have gold? Who's been on a roll? Do we see Jack Perry get a world title shot?
I'm not mad
Oh
about
my
that.
God.
Try to
either.
consolidate power. I'm not, he's not my favorite wrestler, but I
he
I
can
cannot
lose.
deny he's been on a roll with this latest character.
He can lose.
Yeah, he can.
Yeah.
And but it puts him in that main event level. It kind of raises his stock a little bit. It continues this role with this kind of new presentation, new side
And
of
he
himself.
pinned He pinned Bryan Danielson.
Big feather in the cap. I wouldn't mind seeing him
good.
kind of moved up into that, and it would, from a story perspective, why don't we consolidate all the power here? We've got the tag titles, got the Continental. Let's add another one. Unless maybe they do that with Ospreay or something. They try to do that with maybe Perry and Ospreay, but I think Jack Perry goes for it. If not, I don't know what he would win, but I feel like they might try to do the faction with all the gold angle. I just don't know what champion you would be.
Or
Yeah.
But I do see him
Jack
challenging. for a
Perry
title.
scoops in and grabs the TNT title, and then we reset that belt entirely, which would be sick.
I mean,
So you got a lot of directions. In WWE, you got a lot of directions. In AEW, you got a lot of directions. It's exciting. I'm pumped overall. Like, how could you not be? It's the greatest form.
Despite the fact that it's 2 in the morning.
Well, that makes
He is,
well, GB.
don't
that
take
makes,
his word for it, folks.
That makes your next decision even tougher because there's so many great things going on. But we got to know who is your 24/7 champion of the week. Rebooked champion of the week. Who is it? Who you got?
Segment of the show.
Yeah, the most important segment of the show. If you need do you need a moment, or do you think you got somebody?
I have one.
I have one
as well. Matt, you can go first though if you want.
Okay.
Oh, thank God, because I feel like one of you is going to take it. So I wish I had a funny one or something. Like I don't. I just have like a legitimate. I think it's hard to deny it was one of the highlights of the weekend. Shout out to the drone camera at King and Queen of the Ring. Multiple shot. There was this big swooping down the aisle shot, and of course the 360 Logan Paul splash shot was just sick. So cool.
Which was apparently Logan's idea, like a
I don't
year
doubt
ago.
that. I don't
doubt
And
that at
also,
all.
like those drones are like so.
Yeah, man, that was
cool.
gorgeous.
Like a buddy of mine was flying one, and when we were in Madrid, and the footage was unreal. Like the cameras are putting on those drones now. It's
yeah, they're like these gorgeous like 4K, 8K cameras on them.
And it's good to see WWE, playing with that because they have been. They've been using those drone shots, especially in the build up to WrestleMania. That drone shot that went into that SmackDown, that was like 20,000 strong. I think the night that The Rock was like advertised to show up, that was a freaking shot and a half, man. Lee fitting, baby. Lee fucking fitting all day. Shit. I'm trying to figure out how to phrase mine, but
Okay.
Jake, do you want to go first or should I go?
It doesn't matter.
Actually, yours is probably going to be funnier.
What do you want?
All right. I am going to go with the rope that held Darby up above the ring because, man, let me tell you, when they brought that down, I was like, oh, what the is Mr. Anderson / Kennedy up there? What's happening right now? And then I see the thing come down. I was like, oh, it's a wrap. Oh, they're wrapping his legs. Oh, wait a minute. Didn't he just break his ankle? That doesn't. Oh, wait, that doesn't make any sense. And then I saw where they wrapped it, and it was like right above the ankle. I was like, and it held the whole time. That rope never, like the whatever the tie was, never sagged, and he was there for a long time. I'm saying alarmingly long time. You know, to the point where brain damage
it was a
could have been
ballsy
done.
move considering.
No.
Yeah, well, I'm not sure there hasn't already been.
Yeah.
In Darby's case, but yeah, that was very precarious.
Very precarious.
Spot.
All right, Jake, what you got?
Yeah, my 24/7 champion of the week is Dominic Mysterio, because I don't know, I don't have the willpower within me to no sell having Liv Morgan put her face on my face.
That's true.
I don't. And he successfully
What a
did
pro.
that. He between Liv and Rhea Ripley, like Dominic Mysterio has won more than anybody in professional wrestling recently. So I'm gonna go. I mean, is it the mullet?
It's the stash.
Is it the
stash.
you know this? Is it the stash? You know, but business up front, party in the back.
I don't know.
I don't know. It's
I'd give it to Dom.
I
I'm giving it to Dom. We subscribe.
I'm giving
that
it to
was
Dom.
a good one.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. That somehow, some way, my guys managed to make everyone hate him even more, and yet still be winning.
Yes.
And yet still be winning.
Yes.
It's impressive. It's impressive.
Yeah. And maybe the better nominee is Dom's wife, his real life wife.
He's also got like
she might be the real
gorgeous, like real life wife. Then on TV, he's got these two incredible women like fawning or fighting over him, whatever. And he's not the big muscle guy. He's kind of a small. He's got this stupid mustache and a mullet. Like he's a weird looking dude. In his TV presentation, you know, wearing the weird biker vest and
his massive T-shirts.
But you know, I mean, he got a big old. He just got. I mean, Liv Morgan planted her lips on his. I see why he wears the shirt around his waist now. It makes sense.
That added protection, you know, goes a long way. Yeah, no, for sure. All right, well, Dominic Mysterio. Dominic Mysterio's. Let's say his I was trying to think of a word here. His patience, no, his ability, his restraint. Dominic Mysterio's restraint is Dominic Mysterio's professional is our Rebooked 24/7 champion of the week. What a batshit crazy one, but I subscribe to that. Yeah. That's awesome. Oh man, well I think that is an excellent place to put it. Matt, where are we at time wise? Too long? I don't know. This was a good episode though.
It's a longer one. That's for sure.
Supersize. You came back. It was a supersized weekend. It was the return of GB.
Yep.
You know,
lot to cover.
This was our night one of WrestleMania.
We keep saying that we're going to try and make this show under an hour, and there's just no way. There's just no way. I think we just have to accept that this is what it is. If you're on with the ride, we hope you enjoy the long shows. Seriously, we know it's detrimental to the growth of a podcast, but honestly, I just don't give a fuck.
I listened to a lot of 2-hour plus.
Yeah, you're right. You're right.
Yeah.
I was watching the one for this one. It was 6 hours, man, for Masters Madrid. 6 hours. Brennan Sideshow, get your head out of your ass. Okay, how about that? All right, folks. So that's going to do it for us here. Make sure you subscribe to us on YouTube. Give this video a like if you enjoyed it. Comment down below. What do you think of our Rebooked 24/7 champion of the week? Who's your Rebooked 24/7 champion of the week? We'd love to hear from you. If you're listening to Apple Podcasts on Spotify, please, give us a follow. Check us out. And, of course, more importantly, join us on Discord. We yap on there with the community, have a good time with them. And we're trying to, continue to grow this and foster. I don't know what this movement is, but it's 2 a.m. and I got to close the show out because I'm cooked. So that is it. Show will return to normal next week. I will be back
Whatever the hell that
back
means
home.
for us. Yeah.
So we'll be doing some stuff, and a massive shout out as well to the editor Scan for covering for the edits this week, as well as our shorts. We literally would not be able to do this without them. So thank you so much, Scan, for that. That's gonna do it for us. Thank you so much for watching and listening. We'll catch you next week for some more pro wrestling goodness. Take care, everyone. Have a good time. Have a good night. Oh God, we're done.